What's up, everybody? It's another day, another cup of coffee. Cheers. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, it's not important what I talk about. The only thing that's important is that I stay on track and talk about absolute nonsense. That's right. So, today's topic, addiction. Is there a way that addiction can be positive, or is it all negative? Well, if you ask me, I'm a person which you would probably define as like a addictive personality, or whatever it's called in English. The way I see it is that when I do things that I really like, I get, sometimes really obsessive. And this is, of course, a bad thing in some cases, and in other cases, it's a very good thing. Because when I become obsessive, it means that I stop at nothing to excel and, become pretty much as good as I can. I can probably become even better, but if it's not really for me, then I will probably stop doing it once I reach like expert level and move on to something else. And in life, if you want to become really good, once you reach that expert level, and before you enter master level, you have probably spent a lot of time to reach that level, right? And let's be honest, you know what I'm saying? If you want to reach expert level, you probably will spend approximately between 2,000 and 5,000 hours doing that thing, or read about it, or whatever it is, right? If it requires theoretical skill or practical skill, or body movement skill, like strength is a skill, whatever you call weightlifting or strength training, it's a skill. I don't care about what people say, it's a skill. And muscles is the biggest organ in our body, even if people say that it's the skin, but it's not. And we're not gonna have a debate, but I'm just saying that you're reaching a certain level of expertise because you're spending a lot of time. And the more time you spend, in most cases, there are actually some people or individuals, animals, I don't know, that can do things for endless amount of time, and it kind of resets in their brain or their motor skills, so they end up in a amateur level after I don't know. It seems like it's impossible for those guys to learn certain things or whatever, right? And I don't know why. I don't know what it has. I'm not an expert in that field, but anyway, my expertise is in many different places. I've done a lot of things in my life. And from time to time, some things I did for 1 year, some things I did for 5 years, other things I did for 10 years. And, like training with weights, I've done for, I wouldn't say when you're, 5 years old and you lift shit that you're, I'm not counting those years, but I'm counting since I was 15 and I started with serious weightlifting or weight training, strength training, or bodybuilding, whatever you want to call it, whatever the fuck we were doing. And So that means that I've done this for 30 years because I am actually 45 years old the 2nd of June. 2nd of June, boys. So that's a long fucking time. And the Chinese say that to reach master level, you have to practice something for 10,000 hours. And that's a pretty good, that I would say that's a really nice, approximately, But I mean, some people can maybe do it less and some people need more. But if you did anything for 10,000 hours, just you say 10,000 hours, but that's not much. And then you can do like, let's say that you're lifting weights for 1 hour a day and you do it 5 days a week, right? Because you're really into lifting weights, so you do it 5 days a week, right? And I mean, we're not going to extremes. We're not going to count anyone that's doing it for 4 hours a day, because that's like less than 0.2% of the whatever. And they're not doing it for 30 years. They're doing it for maybe 2 years, right? Or whatever, because you can't do that for 30 years. Then, yeah, your body will fucking collapse. But anyway, let's say you're lifting weights 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, right? That's 5 hours, and there's 52 weeks. Let's say you're doing this every week of the year. So that's 52 times 5, that's 260 hours, right? Every year. Okay, so how many years does it take you to reach 10,000 hours? That's right. Let's say you're doing it 250 hours. That's 4 years every 1,000 hours. So that's what? Yeah, that's 40 years. 40 years to become a master. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, 10,000 hours is a really, really high ceiling on becoming a master when it comes to certain things, right? When you're doing other things that you might be able to do for 10 hours a day, then suddenly you can reach master level much, much faster. And this involves like craftsmanship or your work, whatever your profession is. If you're a carpenter, if you're working 10 hours a day, suddenly you can reach master level much faster. But it will still take you 10 years, right? And this is, I think 10,000 hours, give or take, is a good waypoint. And so let's continue with the addiction, right? So let's say that you're really, truly like, obsessed with whatever you're doing. That means that you're probably thinking about it. You're reading about it. You're dreaming about it. You're eating, you're talking, you're sleeping. Whatever you're doing, this is always in your brain, right? That means that those 10,000 hours, even if you're not doing it in, practically, I mean, physically, and you're moving weights or whatever. We're taking weights as the example here, right? And you're thinking about it. You're doing what many athletes do. You're visioning. You're doing it, right? And this is actually something that I've done a lot. Thinking about it. What I'm going to do over and over, because let's be honest, the brain and the body, or the mind and body works together. So when you're thinking about something over and over and over, eventually your body don't know if this is something that you're actually doing because you're visioning this in front of you. And once you actually do it, sometimes I've been like, when I started with jiu-jitsu, right? I was like, it was impossible for me to do certain movements because I was just, too, I was lacking mobility. I was really stiff and in certain ways. And a lot of people look at me and they're like, whoa, this guy is super stiff. But once I start moving, it's like I'm super explosive. I'm fast as shit. I can run like, not many people can, fast. I'm super explosive in starts. And I can maintain that speed. And this helps me in many ways. But still, the mobility, doing things slowly is very hard, right? So when I was eating, when I was working, I was doing things with my hands, but I was thinking about how, let's say you're sitting down, right? And you can do this roll where you just roll and you're standing like on your shoulders and rolling with your legs straight up, and you're just rolling on top of your shoulders and your neck, like, using your shoulders and neck as the base. And it was fucking impossible. I just couldn't do it, and I was just visioning this for like a week. I was not doing it on practice because I didn't have time to train it. And when I got home, the floor was like a wooden floor, and it was a small apartment because I was just living there during the week when I was working. So it was hard for me to train that particular movement, but I was thinking about it. I was visioning it. And then come weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, I was not working, and I just took the weekend and I stayed and I went to the gym and I did this, and it was just like it took like a couple of tries, and then it was just there. You know what I'm saying? And this is what positive addiction can give you. You can reach certain goals much faster. The only thing is that to me, it's not like I can control what I want to become obsessed with. It can be a game that makes me not able to move from the computer. It can be something, but if it's something bad, I have to force myself not to do it, because I have to fucking become the best. I have to become one of the top guys. I will never stop until I'm on top. And of course, if this is something that's taking me away from everything that's positive in real life, and this is very, very harmful for me and my environment, right? And so that's why I can't do that shit. It's not good for me. And I just have to focus on things that's good for me and that improves me. Not something else that's virtual or whatever. I can have fun, but I can never engage in activities that I know will take, 3 months or whatever. And it requires lots of hours, stuff like this. I mean, you can probably relate to many things in life when you look back on them and you're like, yeah, that was like, why the hell did I do that shit? But I couldn't stop myself. I was like, so does this mean that I could potentially become an alcoholic or a drug addict? No, it doesn't. Because I hate drinking and I hate fucking drugs. So that's, that will never happen. Could I end up in a state where I lose everything and I become super depressive, reach, the bottom of the pit, and I just want to kill myself and then I start doing drugs or become an alcoholic. No, because that shit makes me feel even worse. When I'm drinking, I feel even worse, you know. So there's no way. Being a person who has an addictive personality does not mean that you automatically becomes a fucking drug addict if you try it. I don't know what that has to do, what makes you hooked on that shit or whatever. I have no idea. But I tried drugs, and I had drinks, and I can enjoy whiskey and other good wine or whatever, but I would never ever want to become drunk. Never. Does it have with something to do with losing control and being in control? I mean, you can psychoanalyze that shit as much as you want, but it's not that, you know. It just has to do with I feel weird. My brain doesn't work like it should, and it makes me fucking nauseous. And the day after, are you fucking kidding me? Do you want me to fucking spend money to become drunk so I can feel bad? It doesn't make sense. Should I pay to become, end up in a state where I feel really bad? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So I don't drink. I don't want to drink. Lots of people are like, I can make it bad. Hey, no, thank you. It's not for me. Fucking respect that I don't want to drink. And I was in situations in my life where people say the same shit about drugs, like, maybe you're an undercover cop. Why aren't you doing drugs? Listen, man, if you want to do drugs, then fucking do the drugs and shut the fuck up and stop nagging me, you know. I don't want to do it. If you want to do it, then be a man and fucking do it, right? But yeah, so whatever. What I want to say is that is addiction only, it's like addiction is such a negative word, but if you ask me, then if we didn't have fucking crazy people, we would never ever have the Great Wall of China. We would never have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. We would never have a Colosseum. We would never have the pyramids. We would never have 1,000 things would not exist in this world if it wasn't for crazy fucking people who was addicted out of their minds. Peace.